looking gully in the
Detroit is one of like the biggest square mileage wise cities in the country, and it's one of the most under policed in the country as well, with some of the most abandoned areas in a major city in the country. So there's just all kinds of room for getting away with shit, and for a long time they didn't really give a fuck about graffiti. So it was just kind of like all these people from other major cities, where in some cities you can't even have a paint marker on you, or it's, you know, serious consequences. You can't even buy a can of spray paint in some of the city limits of major cities, and automatic felonies for painting. In Detroit was like, it's barely a fucking slap on the wrist if you get caught. You were more worried about other people than the cops. I'm fucking some shit up in somebody's neighborhood who might not appreciate it, who might be violent, you know. And since there's so few police, the chances of getting caught are so little. So, I mean, just that mixed with the vast amount of blank canvas from abandoned buildings and houses and shit like that, it's just like, it was like a graffiti kind of fucking paradise. They don't give a fuck about the artist in the city. They don't want to understand it. Even if they do understand it, they don't give a fuck. They just want to make Detroit look pretty, so money will come back into the city. People would just get a ticket, or they get locked up for the night, or they just kick your ass, or take your paint, or, you know, whatever. But now it's, you know, like mandatory felony. More so than not, people thought it was cool. They thought it was interesting because we were just, you know, painting on shit that was otherwise disgusting and derelict and ugly and putting color on it. I guess some people don't find it as like beautifying it, but I don't know, anytime that you add pretty colors to something that's otherwise fucking ugly, like, how is that hurting it, you know? So most people received it well, I guess, but there's definitely people that disliked it, absolutely. It was getting to a point where like any of the main roads in Detroit, like, were just solid. Like, you drive from the suburbs to the city, and as soon as you crossed 8 Mile, it was just like solid fucking graffiti almost. And yeah, I think it just got to be too much. People couldn't ignore it at that point. I never liked drawing. I liked actually like painting it on the wall, because a lot of shit that I can do with a pen, I couldn't translate into a can in the same way. Like, some shit that I could do with a can, it wasn't comfortable for me to do with a pen, and I couldn't replicate it the right way. So instead of like sketching in a book, I would just go to the Packard and be like, I have this idea in my head, and I'm gonna like try it. And usually it doesn't work very well, but I don't know, once in a while you get something good out of it. You know, you might get a certain curve of a certain part of a letter out of one whole piece that looks good, and you're like, oh shit, you know, like, I'm gonna save that and remember how I did that for the next time, and try and put it together with something else that matches, I guess. There's been a lot of really good graffiti writers in Detroit. Dont's like a legend in Detroit. I mean, probably Rehab's the most prolific graffiti writer I've ever known.
All right, Rehab. When I first started, I was just bombing. I was just drawing throws everywhere. But then that just developed to me just doing burners. I just like legible graffiti. Like, when you see it, you would know it says Rehab when you see it. You know what I'm saying? It might just have some extra colors or some extra doodads and bells and whistles, but you'll see it says Rehab every time. My favorite piece, it wouldn't have to be my favorite piece, but it would be just a favorite spot, the hospital spot on 75 in Michigan.
That was such like a large scale piece and such like a team effort, and you couldn't drive down the motherfucking freeway without it being right in your face. Like, everybody saw that shit. It was on the news.
Halfway through, I wanted to quit. Everybody else was done, and I wanted to stop because I was tired, but I couldn't walk away, so I had to finish that. Graffiti has brought me 65% terrible shit in my life, and 100% self-expression. No matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, nobody can take away my ability to create something from nothing.
It's brought me very little positive and a lot of fucking negative. I've made some really good friends and I've made some really good memories. I got a lot of like great experiences out of it that most 99.9% of people out there won't ever experience. But it caused a lot of problems in my life. And I think I just did graffiti long enough where I was like, I had enough practice in something where I didn't give up on it before I started to get okay, you know? It gave me hope.